Yeah, I'd like to give you a very short introduction because you will find much more online on our website. It's TOPtoTOP.org. We are now, since 2000 on the way. We founded the TOPtoTOP Global Climate Expedition in 1999. And our route was after leaving Switzerland, where we went to the top of each department. We have 26 departments in Switzerland, collecting impacts, but also good solutions for climate change. We decided to go in all climates. And we like to do that climate friendly. So not using fossil fuels or a motor. And we decided to go by the wind, and the boat we have is now powered by sails and also by solar and wind generators. And when we come to land, we cycle and walk. And to really cover all climates, we saw it's not enough to go, let's say, from Africa to Antarctica. As you know, the climate is also changing in altitude. And so that we have a route to go, we decided to go always to the highest peak, so to the top of each of these 7 continents. And in the last 17 years, we have been there. The only top we couldn't reach was Mount Winston in Antarctica, because when we were down there in 2004, there was just too much pack ice. Now, we can really say we were living outdoors now for 17 years. So we don't have a house or something, so our house is the boat, or when we're cycling and climbing, it's a tent. And in this, on this journey, we really experienced the changes. And also we really experienced that the changes are all over the place in each corner we have been. So we covered about 110,000 nautical miles. And here it would have been really interesting, and we're still trying to get some hydrophones organized to really collect better facts and data that also migrating whales, these patterns are changing. In the Arctic, we recognized that, or we believe that orcas going more and more north. We have had some experiences where orcas were hunting also narwhals. We guess that they cannot hide anymore so well under the pack ice. But what we really need is, we really need more tools to collect this data, and also researchers coming on board to help us out with that. On the way, we were always volunteering for research already in the early days, in the year 2000, to take ice cores like here, together with SEX, with the Climate Institute in Valdivia, Chile, to analyze what's going on. And it was really interesting after all these years, you know. At the beginning, we were more, we did more awareness making, and then we were able to talk about solutions, and now also about adaptation. In the far south, we were struggling quite a little bit with the pack ice, and especially as a climber, it was hard to deal with ice shelves breaking up. And you can imagine it's kind of time consuming when you're expecting an ice shelf and you end up like that. Now, we hit then in the 2004, we hit a floating container. As you know, there are about roughly 10,000 containers lost in storms from big cargo ships, and that destroyed our boat. And the way out was then really to transform the boat to the best boat for the environment. So that was our goal. And so we were trying to connect with universities to really test and optimize, especially renewable technologies on board, but also not only to produce green energy, also to save energy. Now we produce about 1.5 kilowatt a day in good conditions. Half is about from the wind, and the other half from the sun. Now, when we started, we were thinking we are volunteers for 4 years in this program. Now it's already 17 years. And after 4 years, my wife got pregnant, and the foundation agreed that we can continue with a child. And they really were a blessing for us in a way that they were opening us doors to the schools. They made friends on these islands and remote places in no time. And it's so much more powerful when they talk about their experiences to peers, to same age children. Now, growing up in this, let's say in nature, I think it's not too bad because I think that's really what children need more today, being connected with nature. I always ask when I go to a school, how many times you touched your smartphone and when was the last time you were hugging a tree? And I think that's really important. So when you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you don't touch her, then something is weird. The same as we really have to think about also in research how we really can break it down and really outreach more with STEAM programs to the kids. We were then also volunteering for the International Pacific Research Center based in Honolulu on microplastic and plastic debris in the ocean. And we took also equipment with us to measure the radioactivity coming out of Japan to understand ocean currents a little bit better. So that was really interesting to collect these samples. And then we ended up in Alaska, where it's kind of colder. And as a mountain guide and now explorer also on sea, it was really very interesting to make the connection between the glaciers, the mountains, and now the ocean, and how everything is actually webbed together. As you know, we experienced actually very much now last year in the Northwest Passage, the impact of permafrost melting on the Alaskan northern shore, where a lot of silt goes into the ocean and impacts then also the fish population. And it was interesting for us just to see also in Hawaii, where all Hawaiians actually already know all about it, you know. They really look from the mountaintop down all steps to the coral reef. Now in Alaska, we were amazed how, about the amount of ice lost in the fjords in Prince William Sound. We were also helping out with collecting data then on the glacier. And I think that was really kind of unique to combine it then with results we get out of the Science Center in Prince William Sound, Cordova. And I think I would really stress that we should really work much more together to web that together, that we just, I think it's still the case that we just look too much on glaciers or on the ocean. I think it's really more important to web everything together. Now in Alaska, we were in this small fishing town, Cordova, realized that it's what with Exxon Valdez, with this disaster they have had, what it still means for the people there. And when you talk to the people, we have had the same experience like in Croatia after the war in ex-Yugoslavia, where people in Cordova started to cry. So when you have a disaster like that, like with Exxon Valdez, you talk about war. And when we come further to drilling in the Arctic, you know, you have to understand that the way we experience the Arctic, we really realized that the Arctic Ocean is the womb of our planet. It's feeding so many mammals, it's so important for our food chain and so on. So drilling there, I think you can compare like when you have a pregnant woman and she starts smoking and drinking vodka. So you don't do that. So I think it just has to be banned. Now, in Cordova, it was then a little bit colder, so we had to insulate the boat. We have to fish and we had to hunt, that we have had enough food for the winter. And I think these people there, especially in Alaska, I really admire. They're just, you know, they're very proud about their natural environment. They use they use it also, but they have just a natural way to deal with nature. We were then the first going from Prince William Sound from the ocean on the top of North America, Denali, with not using a motor. We did a big cleanup there. And then we were studying humpbacks again, more or less circling the North Pacific, then also down to San Francisco and Baja California. And what we do actually at the moment is more or less we do figure eight around the two Americas to go more or less from pole to pole, because we really like to better understand the changes between the tropics and the high latitudes. That's my family here. We just have had an addition a month ago here in Akureyri at the Arctic Circle in Iceland. And when we came through the Northwest Passage, we went from Fort Ross down to Fern-Hakla Strait, more or less into Hudson Bay, you see there. So we were the first boat ever doing the Northwest Passage going through there. And that shows how dramatic the ice loss was in 2016. We have seen on the northern shore of Alaska, more or less just on the way to Herschel Island, we were quite offshore, about 50 nautical miles, 60 nautical miles offshore. You see, that's beginning of August, there's no ice around. This polar bear, we were thinking we can rescue this polar bear, but he was just too weak to climb the dinghy. We were thinking we can tow the polar bear and the dinghy closer to shore. Then in Fern-Hakla Strait, there was most of the time always ice locked in the past years. So you see also here, there's not much ice anymore. And we have seen in one spot north of Joya Haven, 11 polar bears in one spot. And what we realized is that they changed the pattern in a way that they were hunting belugas. So the belugas go into this bay, and at low tide they're trapped. They cannot go out, and then they are easy prey for the polar bears. We also did some water sampling on microplastic through the Northwest Passage. And there is microplastic, so the results you can get from the College of the Atlantic in Bar Harbor. And with the icebergs, we have more and more problems also this year. We think they are really getting more and more, and are kind of troublesome for us on small boats. The Inuit people, they were extremely friendly, and what they really hate is all this now cruise ship tourism going on, and the increased shipping. They really became big friends of us because we just have had the time to be there and stay there for a while. And what was really sad to see, and we have seen about 1,200 students, and in many communities, they told us that the suicide rate for teenagers is already up to 25%. And we were asking then why, and one main topic is that they lose their future. They need ice like the polar bears to go hunting, to travel over the pack. And yeah, they really lose their hope for the future. In northern Labrador, we saw that the caribou population goes down dramatically. They were talking there of 800,000 species 5, 6, 7 years ago, and now they're down by 9,500. Then when we saw this dolphin, my kids were kind of shocked because they are always playing in front of the boat. But my Inuit friend told me, look, I have to feed my children, and I don't like to kill a dolphin. I'd rather go for seal. But my hunting grounds are just shrinking with the breakup so early and the freezing so late. And this picture we normally show in big cities like New York or so when we could come through. And I think it's really, we should not blame them. I think they are not the cause of the troubles they face at the moment. Now, I really think it's last call when we like that the Arctic survives, the really great Inuit culture survives, and also this great wildlife up there. We have to act very fast and soon. And I think the only way I see it is we really should think about same policies like in Antarctica, that we really can save more or less the warmth of the planet, and maybe at the end also the whole planet. That was now this summer in East Greenland. In East Greenland, there are only 3,000 people. They have their own language, and the same picture here. They were telling us they have hardly no pack ice anymore, like in the past. We tried to inspire the young Inuit with some outdoor activities, especially free climbing, just to give them, yeah, I think climbing is really good to build trust and confidence, and that we give them some kind of a hope for the future. And we also try to connect them with students further south. And we really hope that we can build this network based on understanding and friendship to challenge global warming. Now, what we also recognize in East Greenland, there, when we talk to the hunters there, that because of the pack shrinking and the hunting grounds shrinking, they start killing their dogs, because it makes no sense to have dogs when you cannot use the sleds. And then they try now to compensate with hunting more whales and dolphins, but they also would rather go for seals. That's actually their daily bread. Now that's a little bit very short what we do, and I'm more than happy to answer some questions, maybe more in deep. So what TOPtoTOP is doing is we explore the best examples, also the beauty of our planet, to inspire as many young people as possible to act for a better future. So TOPtoTOP stands not only for our route going to the highest mountain, collecting all climates, it's also standing for exploring and collecting the best practice examples to challenge and face climate change. And we really like to build a pearl chain of good hopes around the planet, with good projects, individuals, they really do something good for our planet. Yeah, so I hope you got a little bit an idea what we are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dario. First of all, congratulations about the new baby, a new crew member for the TOPtoTOP. And your presentation was really refreshing for this group, because you integrated a number of elements in 20 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. I have one question. You interacted with local communities up there. What did you get any sense from them about how they are perceiving change? Or what kind of observations did they tell you anything about? What things do they see different from their perspective?
Yeah, I think in the first place, I think it's good, you know, like now we will overwinter here at the Arctic Circle. You need always to be patient, and you need a lot of time till these people become friends in a way. It's not like in the tropics when you are in somewhere in Panama, you have a friend the next day. But it's really interesting, especially when you speak to the elders. They really can compare how it was in the past and now. And for sure, they have a struggle with, you know, the traditional lifestyle changing now in the modern world. But what's on top is for sure climate change. And when you look, their whole culture is actually based on hunting. I mean, there are no fruit trees and vegetable gardens. You know, they really, when they like to survive, they have to hunt. And the other problem they face is, like in East Greenland, I'm pretty sure that's the poorest place in whole Europe, you know. So for them, it's just a disaster when their daily bread, you know, is not there anymore. They cannot hunt it anymore. And when the first settlers, you know, from Denmark came over to translate the Bible, so the Inuits, they couldn't understand bread, okay? So they put the word for bread, they put seal, you know, and then, so it's actually, they're praying for seal, not for bread, like we do. So, that shows that it's really dramatic for the people. And they were able to give us so many examples of really weird behaviors of animals, or animals not showing up anymore, or so that was really kind of scary. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Dario.
Maybe what's really important to add is what, especially in Kulusuk in East Greenland, we have seen that there, also in Labrador, but also in the Northwest Passage. As an example, in Hopedale, that's an Inuit community in Northern Labrador. They cannot hunt and pick berries anymore because of this early warning stations. They got abandoned, and now this liquid, I'm not sure if it was for antifreeze or whatever, that is leaking in the ground, and they have had now a really high cancer cases in the community. And you know, they're not allowed to hunt and pick berries anymore for quite a big region around their villages. So the problem I think they face is now with losing ice, that maybe drilling or mining gets more and more accessible and popular, that there are just not a lot of people, you know, and they have no voice. And so for us, it's for sure also important that we can give them a voice the best as we can. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Dario?
This is Greg here with BOEM. This is just a little trivia, but wondering if you picked up some of the language in Greenland, and if so, did that help you in communicating with them?
Yeah, so in East Greenland, they have to, in school, they have to learn Danish and West Greenlandic. And that's actually quite bad for them, because that they cannot teach in their native language, East Greenlandic. But that's just politics, you know. Greenland, actually Kulusuk in East Greenland, it belongs to Nuuk. And in Nuuk, they speak West Greenlandic, and there are so many more people. So yeah, they lose their identity. They are not able to talk the language in the schools. So I saw that also when we went from Alaska to Canada. You know, these borders, they are actually, you know, for the Inuits, that they are actually so artificial. They're just something unreal, where you have villages that were connected to each other for centuries, fishing together, hunting together, and soon, and now in the modern days, you build a border, you know, and then you have suddenly problems, you know, of being in two different nations. So I think I think we could do also much more to integrate this Inuit community to a whole region. Yeah.